So the concept for Inversion of the Unseen Horizon really started to take shape back in 2016, right around the time that we were wrapping up recording our previous album, Malediction. Now in Malediction, we basically took the idea that Lucifer wasn't in fact the primary source of evil. He was an angel in heaven that somehow got possessed by an evil entity. And then we explored, well, who was that evil entity? And we kind of dove deeper into that and into the origins of that particular entity called Savael. So the concept really kind of took shape after I reread the Scarlet Gospels by Clive Barker. Now there's a really awesome section in that book where he describes the world in which Pinhead and all the other Cenobites come from. And in that particular section of the book, he describes, the architecture, what the streets look like, all sorts of really crazy imagery that he depicts that particular world. And the concept was basically, okay, well, if Savael in Malediction was the evil entity that possessed Lucifer, what if Savael wasn't like the supreme entity? What if he was just a droid, like a demonic droid that is being sent into these existing life stars or planets to infiltrate, consume, and devour? And then we started looking at, okay, well, what would that hierarchy look like, and what would their planet be like? And basically we just kind of took that idea that Clive Barker had described in Hellraiser essentially and just ran with it as the backstory to who Savael was. And then we basically just kind of created a whole separate world. We created separate characters and names for those characters and everything else around that. How did this planet come into creation in the first place? How did the first creator, or like what we call the grand architect, and his name is Xenax, how did he come to be? And then how did he create this droid, which we called the Synaxers? And then we just kind of rolled with it, and it was a really fun concept to develop. It was right up our alley. It was something that we were already familiar with just from being huge horror and sci-fi fans to begin with. So what actually helped was right here in this room in my house was kind of mapping out the concept in front of me. And mapping out some of like the things that were complicated to retain, such as, okay, what did the planet look like? How did they tunnel or portal into these existing worlds? What was that portal called? How did it get created? How do you summon this fucking portal? Like, all that kind of stuff. So basically kind of mapped it all out on this large piece of paper here, and kept referencing it as I was writing lyrics. What we started with was we created the planet, and we called the planet Syruxal. And then from there we kind of painted a picture of what it would look like. And then we painted a picture of what the people inside that planet would look like, or the creatures, the droids, the specters that would be in that world. But all of them came from someone, some god, some kind of master creator. And that's where Xenax kind of came into play, and he was, he's the grand architect, and he's the one that not only created this particular world and everything else, but he is the driving force behind their sole objective, which is planetary consumption. And then we dove into the story of Xenax, like how did he come to be? And basically he formed out of the sorrow and dark energy that occurred when the first star in the cosmic sea died. So the death of the first star, all of the pain that the cosmos felt, is essentially what created the life force that became Xenax. And his entire inner being is all about replicating that sorrow that created him. So basically, what he wants to do is consume other life stars and planets, and he just wants to constantly feel that sorrow of a star dying out. And to accomplish that, he had to create a droid race that would do his bidding. And then he created the art of summoning the Zulka, which is basically this triangular portal that allows them to transcend time and space and different dimensions, and basically to portal and terraform into planets to swarm and destroy. So the album, the first chapter, talks essentially all about the creation of Seruxal, Xenax, and the Synaxers, which are, you know, the droids that Xenax created. The second part of the album is essentially what it's like to tunnel into another planet through the portal, and what's going on during that whole phase of things, and what it's like for the planet seeing this portal come through the sky, and everything started to swarm in as everything gets completely devastated. And then the final part of the album is actually from the perspective of a planet being invaded in real time, and seeing from their eyes the chaos and the frenzy that surrounds it, and so on and so forth. So we really kind of try to tie it all in and end it, on the last track. One of the biggest challenges in writing the lyrics wasn't developing the concept. In fact, developing the whole concept and the framework was the easiest part, believe it or not. And it didn't take as much time as one would think. I mean, all of these ideas basically came out very, very quickly. And we didn't massage it a whole bunch because, you know, we really tend to believe that what comes out almost initially is what it should be. And that's how we write the actual music, and that's what we wanted the concept to essentially be like. But the biggest challenge was actually writing the lyrics to the music, only because, like I say to everyone who wants to listen, like I'm not actually a vocalist, despite being the vocalist in the band since 2013. Like, I still don't consider myself a vocalist. I don't really want to do the vocals, but had no choice. So getting it done. And one of the things that I thought was really difficult was I really wanted the lyrics to be spot on. I wanted it to sound like there was an actual vocalist. Like, because when I'm writing vocals, typically I'm thinking like a guitar player. I'm thinking like I'm writing the music. And sometimes that works really well, and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it's very unorthodox, and that's what kind of gives us a little bit of our sound. It's got that kind of like chaotic, like, is that in time? Is that supposed to be there kind of feel, which we really like, and it is, essentially deliberate. But for this album in particular, I wanted the vocals and the lyrical patterns to be on point and be really good. So the first track I wrote probably in 2018. So for Within the Astral Abscess, the first song, I wrote the lyrics, but then for the next couple of years, I really didn't write anything. And that's because every time I tried, I just was, I was overthinking it, bottom line, overthinking the lyrical process. And essentially right around the time that we were recording the drums and everything like that, then crunch time. Now that Neil's in the studio, okay, shit, get these lyrics done. And again, I was still running into like that writer's block. I was overthinking the whole thing. Funny enough, there was like a couple shows that we played, locally here in Ottawa and in Montreal. And we actually played some of these new songs. We played like Masticated by An Infinite Shadow. We played what is now Behold the Apex of Decay, and Beyond the Abhorrence. We've actually played those songs live, as kind of like new tracks. And I'm singing, clearly, if you watch some of the videos, but we had no fucking lyrics for those things. So in that moment, I was just making stuff up, on stage. I was either singing about what I was seeing in the crowd, or I was making noises, like whatever. It's death metal. You kind of can get away with that stuff, a little bit. But when I was reviewing those particular videos, I was like, fuck, those patterns are actually like not bad at all. It's what came out at the time. There was no thought in it. It was just like whatever felt good. And so I realized that when I'm on stage and I'm playing guitar, whatever I was kind of screaming at the time was wherever I thought, you know, wherever I could actually do it at the same time. So there are some parts where like you want vocals over, but like it's just not driving guitar wise, or you gotta actually concentrate on the fucking thing and like, you know, can't do it. So what actually helped me out was like picking up my guitar. And so basically when I was writing the lyrics, I just like had the guitar with me. I had the headphones on. I, you know, had the tablet going, and I was basically just like listening to the music, playing, and then like whatever would come out, I would just kind of scream. So I have like these like audio recordings on my cell phone of me just basically doing the patterns, like not actual words, just like patterns while playing the guitar. And then I took those patterns and then basically just kind of mapped out, you know, where the syllables and the lyrics should be. And that seemed to be like the most effective way for me. And that actually really worked. So all these lyrics that got written very quickly. As soon as I stopped thinking, picked up the guitar, and just kind of like whatever came out first, pattern-wise, is what I rolled with. And then the actual words themselves took no time at all, because like the concept has been brewing in my mind for a number of years. We already had all of the song lyrics mapped out, all of the chapters mapped out. I already mapped out basically what each song should be about, so a description for each song. So everything was clearly there. The only thing that was missing was basically just getting the lyrics on paper. And the thing that was holding me back, I was overthinking it, and I just wasn't thinking like I would normally not think on stage. So yeah, so I'll go through the recording setup here. I mean, pretty basic stuff as far as it goes. I mean, we tracking all the vocals using the Shure SM7B. It's being cloud lifted, going right into a Behringer UMC 1820. Super basic stuff. I mean, nothing spectacular in terms of gear. Obviously, just, you know, it's recording. I mean, that's all we can really kind of hope for. This is our first time recording vocals on our own and doing it ourselves, which has you know, had a few challenges logistically and obviously getting used to figuring this out. But it's been going well, and it's been actually nice having it here at the jam space. So whenever, you know, there is some free time, you can just kind of lay down some tracks. But obviously that's come with a couple of other challenges. You know, you give an inch, you take a mile type of thing. So a little bit more freedom has allowed for a little bit more procrastination, and it's taken a little bit longer than we would have hoped to get these vocals done. But this is pretty much how it's going. I mean, you know, we're pinning the lyrics up and just shouting into this thing, and that thing's picking it up. I mean, pretty straightforward. If you're wondering what all this junk is, for me doing vocals for every album, I usually have the same things. So I always have hot black coffee ready to go. Got some either chocolate milk or hot chocolate depending on the time of year, and a couple Mars bars. And the chocolate milk and Mars bars helps to like coat my throat, and allows me to kind of have some of these like really gurgly low vocals that I'm kind of going for. And since I'm not really a vocalist, I'm really shouting, like I'm really giving it my all, so my voice is only really good for a couple songs per session. And you know, being able to prolong it a little bit with some hot tea, hot coffee, chocolate, that kind of stuff has, for me anyways, worked out. I know some people say, you know, don't go dairy, don't do any of that stuff, but I don't know, it works for me, and so far so good. So yeah, but that's pretty much the setup, man. Very simple. I mean, I get locked in here in this dungeon, and pretty much just have to shout at a computer alone. And it's different than what we've used to do, but it's working. All right, so just about ready to get started here doing vocals. Pretty simple setup. Did my level check. You'll probably notice I'm sitting down right now, which is a lot different than how I used to record vocals, but two reasons for that. One is space is limited. I have to actually man the controls here, which I'm still not comfortable doing. So this has just ended up being the right thing. But then, you know, when you break it down, I'm not a vocalist, first of all, and I never practice vocals until we either have to record or we have to play a show. And when I do practice vocals before those two times, I usually do it in my car when I'm driving. I'm on the road quite a bit. So so this is as close to being in the car as I can kind of create. And I would say that about 50% of this album I recorded sitting down. So anyways, we're gonna see what this sounds like. So again, I don't really warm up or anything. Maybe I should, but I don't really want to do all the things that make me a good vocalist, because like my dream is that we'll eventually find someone that can keep up and do this stuff here. But yeah, anyways, here we go. Beyond the Abhorrence. And that's pretty much it. So the next line after that, I'm gonna have to want it so that it starts just underneath the previous one. So I gotta stop that, I'm assuming, and then record the next little part. So the way that I've been doing it, just because I don't know what I'm doing, is I'm doing as long sections as I can until there's either like a layered section or kind of like what I'm gonna work on now, which is like a bit of an overlap. And then I actually stop and I record that section. So I don't really, I'm recording everything in sequence of the song as I want to hear it, which, I don't know, seems to be working for me okay.